93 Rockets Punch in the Workday Cruise. Glad to have you along today. Very special guest on the line today, an author of one of the great books that have come out over the past year. If you're into rock music, especially if you're into the band Kiss, it's called Kiss Klassifed. I've got Carl Linnaeus on the line with me today, all the way from Sweden. How you doing today, Carl?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doing great. All excited about the book. I've seen it turning up on all the Kiss pages. You're getting some great recognition from even members of the band. Let's go back to the beginning and talk about how you decided to put together the book Kiss Klassifed. Tell us about it and how it got started.
Yeah, well, actually, I've been working as a rock journalist here in Sweden for the last 10 years, 12 years or something like that. And I've written a couple of books before. I wrote one book about Kiss, a pure Kiss biography a couple of years back, and it was only in Swedish. So this time I had another angle to do another cool Kiss book. A friend of mine called Johan Kihlberg was actually, the head of Kiss Army Sweden, the Swedish fan club back in the 80s and 90s. And he also worked for the band's record label. And he visited Kiss in the studio in the late 80s. And he was somewhat of a stalker fanboy prior to that. So, he met the band so many times back in the day. And one of his friends called Mats Vassfjord, he took photos of the band from the 80s up until now. So we have like 750 previously unpublished photos in the book. To illustrate Johan's cool story about, all the interviews and all the meetings he's done with the band over the decades. So it's a big, fat, juicy coffee table book for I think it's 340 pages, packed with cool stories and cool photos. And I also, since I have interviewed the band so many times for Sweden Rock Magazine, as the magazine is called that I write for, I put all my quotes from different interviews with all the band members over the years, to make. To spice up the book even more. So we got quotes from the band members, we got Johan's story, and we got lots of cool photos in the book.
It's a gorgeous looking book as well. You said you had so many exclusive photos. How do you arrive at the one that you want on the cover? Or did one just jump out at you?
Well, actually, the one on the cover is not one of Matt's photos. It's another photographer here in Sweden called Peder Andersson, and. The story behind the photo on the cover is the whole story of the book starts in 1980, since that was Johan's first Kiss show he attended on the Unmasked tour. And this photo is actually from that very show, prior to that show in Stockholm, Sweden, in October of 1980. So not many people have seen this photo. So of course we wanted a vintage photo. So it's Kiss in makeup from 1980 with Eric Carr. And it's cool to have Eric featured as well on the cover.
Well, fans in America know that Kiss had a rough start to the 1980s in this country. It was a little bit different overseas. What was it like where you were when the Unmasked album came out and Kiss got into the decade of the 80s?
Yeah, exactly. I think, the reason why Kiss, left the States and focused on Europe and Australia in 1980 was because I think the career had run its course a bit in 1980. So there were still superstars in Europe, and I think when they actually did unmask a couple of years later with the Lick It Up album, Sweden was one of the big territories for the band, and I first got into the band with the song Heavens on Fire. That was a huge hit over here back in 1984. I think I was 7 years old or something like that. The unmasked years, the 80s, were big for Kiss over here, absolutely.
It was a great time for the band musically. Now, you said you got turned on to the band around the Heavens on Fire era. What's one of the stories from the book that you can kind of share with us that would let us know a little bit about what we're in for when we pick up Kiss Klassified?
Well, I think one of the cool things about the book is back in 1987 when Kiss did the Crazy Nights tour, Mats and Johan actually traveled to the States to catch up with the band. And back then, that was not a common thing to do, to travel to the States to follow a band on tour. Nowadays, it's of course different, but back then they could actually just go up to Polygram, the record label, and say, hey, we're fans from Sweden, we would like some backstage passes, and and so forth. And they said, "Oh, cool! You travel all the way from Sweden." So here's some backstage passes, photo passes, and here's the address to the hotel where the group will be staying. They were doing a show north of New York at the time. So they got all this access to the band, and they got to hang out with the band. They got to have a drink with Paul Stanley in the bar when he was picking up girls, women, and they got to drink with their car, and they got to hang out at Bruce's birthday party, Bruce Kulick's birthday party that he was having at the hotel back then. So it was so much easier back then to get close to the band. And nowadays, I know since I'm a journalist, it's very difficult to get that kind of access today to any of those huge bands. But it was cool to describe the feeling and the environment and the way it was back in the 80s in this book.
It's definitely was a different time, and going to those shows in the 80s, they were a totally different band. They were kind of, they weren't on top of the world anymore. They were kind of playing catch-up with other bands like AC/DC and Bon Jovi and Motley Crue and those kind of bands. They were kind of playing catch-up, but they always had the image of Kiss as being the biggest band in the world. I still thought they were the biggest band in the world. They were pros at doing that kind of stuff. Sounds like you get a little bit more of a personal side by the time you're done reading this book.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course it was a cool time. And Johan's story is from the 80s up to the late 90s. He actually got a gold record award for the Psycho Circus album because he helped the band in so many ways, with the Swedish fan club and so forth. So it's a lot of cool stories up to the late 90s. And then the second part of the book is mainly focused on Mats' very cool photos from the farewell tour from 2001, I think, of course it was not the farewell tour back then, but and we got interviews with Tommy Thayer, and we got interviews with S. Frehley, we got tons of cool stuff, and very much from the Kiss cruise. The last section of the book is from all the cruises that Mats and Johan went to. So it's from 1980 and up to today.
That's great. It covers the gamut pretty much the last 30-plus years. Now, what were your expectations for the book before you put it out? And it seems like since it's come out, some great activities have been going on, like the expos with Vinnie Vincent and access to the band, Gene Simmons and his solo band and the Vault and all kinds of different stories. What's been the reaction to the book, and what's been the reaction from the fans and from band members who have seen it?
Yeah, well, their reaction has been great. We didn't know what we would expect because this is a new publishing house that we're putting out this book through. So we made a limited run, and it sold out very quickly. So we have the second edition out now, actually. So it's been tremendous. But it's cool because, of course, Gene Simmons, he loves this kind of stuff. The first Kiss book I put out 5 years ago, he actually bought from me. He gave me cash for that book, and you can see it at his home. When he's doing interviews from his home, he's standing in front of all those books, all those Kiss books, and you can see my first Kiss book just behind him in every interview he does from his home. So that's cool. And this book, he also bought from us directly. We got an email. Yeah, Gene Simmons. That's Gene Simmons in Beverly Hills want to purchase 2 copies of our book. So that was cool to send 2 copies of Kiss Klassifed over to Beverly Hills. And when I interviewed Gene at the beginning of 2017, I mentioned this book and told him all about how we would proceed with it, and he was cool about it. And I actually got a quote from him about Johan that we put on the back cover. And of course, Bruce Kulick has written the foreword to the book. And it was cool to actually hand over the book directly to Bruce when he visited Norway last year. And he was actually quite impressed. So, as a favor, he hyped it a bit on his social media. So that was very nice of Bruce. He didn't have to do that, but of course, he thought the book was so amazing. So he wanted to do us this favor. So we're very grateful for that. Thank you, Bruce.
Yeah, I saw the video that he posted where he was holding the book. It is a very impressive piece. And how can Kiss fans get their hands on it? You got to get it. Yeah, you got to have it in your collection.
Thank you. Well, it is available through Amazon, and I think you can find it on eBay too, of course. But we have distribution all over the world, actually, through Amazon.com. So you can just go there and click on Kiss Klassifed and get it there. And we'll be getting some raving reviews on Amazon too, which I realize is not that common. But so we were very happy that the customers on Amazon enjoys the book too. Yeah, it's been terrific.
That's great. Kiss Klassified is the name of the book. You can get it on Amazon. Carl Linnaeus, thanks for checking in from Sweden. We finally got to hook up and talk about the book. I'm looking forward to checking it out myself. Thanks for the call, and if you ever want to come back on, give us an update on the book or future projects, you just let us know, okay?
Yeah, thank you for having me.
That sounds great, Carl. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.